So NIO is the new hot stock on the block. It's the Chinese Tesla. It's the Tesla killer. It's the most hyped stock right now on the stock market. So let's take a deeper look here into NIO. Let's take a look into the company, see what they do, why they call themselves the Tesla of China, and why you should not be investing in this company right now. Hey guys, if you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. I make tons of videos like this, and if you want to see what companies I trade and I invest in, make sure to check out our VIP group, link in the description. So NIO IPO'd in the US on the New York Stock Exchange this past week at a price of $6.25 a share, and they currently sit at a price of $9.90 per share. So based on this, you may be thinking this is a good investment. The stock has gone up in the last couple of days. But let's go through some details as to why this might not be the best investment. So first, let's start off with kind of going over the company, figuring out what NIO does, and figuring out why people are so bullish or people are hyping up this stock and company so much. So NIO is actually a Chinese automobile company, and they're based out of Shanghai, China. Their main focus is on designing and developing electric cars that are also autonomous, and they also want to make this a very affordable car for the general public. They were founded around 4 years ago in around 2014, and they currently sit at around 4,000 employees worldwide. Now, when this company first started, they had a few big companies come up and invest in them. These companies include Tencent, Baidu, Lenovo, and TPG. So in 2016, NIO came out and they announced that they did get the issue and the approval for the autonomous vehicle testing permit by the California DMV. So this essentially means that they were able to now legally go out and test their cars on the roads in California. And since these would be public roads, they can actually get real world samples and real world scenarios that they might not have had a chance to get through before, so they can kind of iron out some kinks that way. So as of right now, they currently only have 3 models of cars. They have the EP9, which is just solely a track car, a concept car, kind of like their flagship of what they're capable of doing. And then they also have the ES6 and ES8, which are both SUVs. The ES8 though is where all investors' eyes on, and it's where everyone's kind of looking towards as to the future of this company. They think that this car is what's going to propel this company from a small company to a massive company. So with all of this good news and all of kind of the hype around this, why is it not a good idea to invest in this stock right now? Well, first of all, they just IPO'd a couple of days ago, so it's way too early to really invest in this company. There's not a lot of information out there in terms of its numbers, its financials, so you don't really have a lot of information to go to for this investment. Another thing to consider is that this company is only 4 years old. Now, as a comparison, Tesla is 15 years old, and only recently has Tesla gotten to the point where they can actually mass produce cars like their Model 3, for example. So the question you gotta ask yourself, and the question that I personally ask is, what does NIO have to prove that they can actually achieve this mass production goal that they have much quicker than Tesla did? Not only is NIO behind Tesla now in terms of technology and where they are in the stage of development and mass production, but there's also massive manufacturers worldwide that are focusing heavily on pure electric cars, which are also ahead of the game and also have massive production factories that they can go out there and mass produce cars in. For example, Volvo is a massive manufacturer that's ready to go fully electric in 2019, and they're also a mass producer, so that's going to be another huge competitor in this market starting next year. But the fun doesn't end there, so now let's take a look at some of the financials here of NIO. So for a company that's trading currently at around a $10 billion valuation, and at one point peaked to $12 billion valuation in the last week, you would expect some pretty decent numbers out of this company since investors are fairly bullish on this company. Well, there are some numbers out, and in August 2018, they reported a whopping 481 cars. Not 1,000, not million, nope, 481 cars. That's less than 500 cars reported in August. Oh, and they also have supposedly 15,000 cars on back order that they're going to be trying to fulfill over the next year. Now, NIO claims, because Tesla achieved this recently, that they can achieve 500,000 cars per year soon, and they're also going to be able to achieve 100,000 cars per year almost immediately. So really, you're gonna go from producing 481 cars in a month to 100,000 cars per year almost immediately. So let's do some of the math here. We can see that 481 cars, say they do this over 12 months, that gives them around 5,772 cars. So to make this easy, let's just round this up to 6,000 cars in the next 12 months. So now they're telling us that they're going to be able to go from this 6,000 cars per year to 100,000 cars per year almost immediately. I don't know if I believe that. I'm not sure most of you guys out there will believe that. But that's just something that they claim, and again, I think that's just hyping up the stock a lot because it's something that they said, so some investors think that it's true. So just for comparison's sake, Tesla only hit 6,000 cars per week recently this past summer, and it took them years to reach this point. But these guys think they can come out here and produce around 2,000 cars per week almost immediately. I would personally be cautious on the quality of those cars if they did manage to achieve that. A lot of us are skeptical when it comes to Chinese electronics, especially when it comes to things where your kind of life is dependent on it. People tend to go with products that are created outside of China. So to put your life in a Chinese car that they're rushing to get production numbers out of, I personally would not feel very comfortable with that. But again, that's just personal preference. There are some products that are amazing out of China, like the iPhone, for example, is produced in China. So you can have a lot of good things come out of China. But in my opinion, to really achieve the goals that they've set out for themselves in the next year or two, they're gonna have to cut a lot of corners. And I don't know if I'll feel safe driving a car that has cut a lot of corners just to get the numbers out there. Oh, but wait, the fun does not stop there. In 2017, NIO reported $6.7 million in revenue. And so far for the first 6 months of 2018, they've reported around $7 million in revenue, and they're on track to achieve $10 million in revenue in 2018. Not only this, but they've also lost around $750 million in 2017. They've lost so far in 2018 around $550 million, and they're on track to losing over $1 billion this year in 2018. So here you have a company that's producing less than 500 cars a month, bringing in maybe on the higher side $10 million in revenue for the year, and losing around $1 billion per year. Yet they have a valuation of around $10 billion on the stock market. Does that even make sense? Is that even comprehensible? In my opinion, absolutely not. In my opinion, if you're putting any money into NIO stock right now, you're purely going to be day trading this, and you're probably going to be taking advantage of momentum in the stock. Now, I personally don't think that there's anything wrong with that. If you see an opportunity, take advantage of it. There's a lot of members in our Facebook group who have taken advantage of it and that have posted good double-digit gains from the stock in just maybe a few hours of holding it. But if you're actually here to sit down and consider investing in NIO for the long term, I would definitely be very cautious on this investment. If short sellers think that a company like Tesla, who has proven their numbers, who is actually mass producing vehicles, still has potential to fail, just imagine how much short interest there will be in a company like NIO over the next months or years. You also should be aware of the trade war and the tariffs that have been going on recently with Chinese stocks. So even companies, your massive Chinese companies like Alibaba, Tencent, Baidu, who are pulling in big profits, are still suffering in the stock market. So what hope does a company like NIO have when they post things like massive losses, very low revenue, very low production numbers, and of course they will be affected by the tariffs because they do plan to export and sell their cars in the United States. The tariff pressure will eventually catch up with this company as well. Right now it's moving on hype. Right now it doesn't matter what the fundamentals are. Investors are just flocking into the just take advantage of price movements, buy it, sell it a few hours later and have massive gains in it. But eventually this will die down. The fundamentals will kick in, and I believe that this will drop below its IPO price at some point. Guys, if you really want to invest in a Chinese manufacturer that's focused on electric cars, autonomous driving, and all of that, you can look at companies like Alibaba, Tencent that have some sort of involvement in this, or you can look at a company like BYD, which is focused on this, and they already do sell cars in China. So if you want to see a video on BYD, let me know in the comment section down below as well. Either way, guys, drop a huge like on this video if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to invest positively. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
往里倒一点。 我的梦想其实是一名服装设计师。
我会找一些我的伙伴们，还有一些志同道合的朋友们，就把我们想要做的研究和想法变为现实。
如果给我一片空间的话，我希望能